We're back. We're live with the 12 o'clock rock. Here with Jackie Young, the Chief Staff Officer of the American Cancer Society in Hawaii. Retired. Retired,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Jackie.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show.
Funny you should say that. Let me tell you about Jackie Young, because it's important you know about her. She's a PhD, recently retired as the Chief Staff Officer of the American Cancer Society of Hawaii. The former Hawaii State Representative. She was the first woman to be elected Vice Speaker of the House. 1990. That is something.
A long time ago.
Yeah. Let me do the math on that.
Yeah.
An advocate for civil rights. Jackie Young served as the State Affirmative Action Officer. She lent her voice to discrimination in education against women and girls and worked toward integrating children with disabilities in the public school system. She was instrumental in managing the nation's first marriage equality campaign, Protect Our Constitution. She's currently a member of the Judicial Selection Commission. That's very important.
Thank you. Yeah.
And the Hawaii State Advisory Committee for the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. She's also active in the campaign for Hope Lodge, Hawaii. We'll talk about that today. She's a residence for cancer patients from the neighbor islands and the Pacific Rim. It's fabulous to have you here, and I really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you. Yeah.
Let's talk first about you have an event coming soon. It's on May 31st, American Cancer Society.
No, this is not American Cancer Society. May 31st is University of Hawaii.
University of Hawaii,
University
and you
of Hawaii
are included
alumni.
in that event.
I happen to be included in it.
All right, well,
yeah.
by reference then, it's the American
Yes.
Cancer Society,
Yeah.
but mostly it's UH and you, among others.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, this is the Distinguished Alumni Award, and there are several people on it that you probably would know. Larry Price and Eric Yeoman and Conrad Nanaka, and I believe the other one is Dr. Takifuji, Ernest Takifuji. So that's to honor the UH people, and of course I will be talking about Hope Lodge there. Yeah.
That's great. FYI, I sat on the Multiple Sclerosis Board. In fact, I was the chair for a while, back in the 70s with Larry Price. He and I were on that same board. Yeah, he was
Well, he's getting a lifetime award.
Well, this is part of it, isn't it?
Right, exactly, exactly, yeah.
So what's going to happen? How are you going to be feted on May 31st?
This will be at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and there's going to be a big banquet, and I guess if you want more information, look up the UHAA website, and they'll be able to tell you about that. And they're probably glad that I'm talking about it today.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, it's a fundraiser in itself, isn't it?
Yes,
And David Lasner is going to be there, no?
Right, he's our president.
And Ken Hayashida, the
right.
UH Alumni Association president, a really good guy, an engineer, as I remember, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's great. And Lasner, this is interesting. Lasner graduated from, he took his PhD from UH in '98, but Ken Hayashida, who looks younger than Lasner does, he's a very young-looking man. He graduated in '83. I like that, huh?
Yeah.
See, you can't tell.
No, you can't tell. My story there is that I went to school years ago and didn't finish, and then went back when I had 4 children, and then finished then. So it was a second chance for me.
Yeah.
And I just, hunkered down and got through. Yeah.
Tell us about you and the American Cancer Society. How did that connection happen?
Well, we're so close. Oh, well, that's because I had cancer. Back in 1998, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was like many of you out there where, you don't pay any attention to cancer because it doesn't bother you. But when it does bother you, then you begin to listen up and you see what's going on. And I was actually pretty shocked to find out so many people were being diagnosed with cancer in Hawaii. I also passed by the American Cancer Society at Nu'uanu and never really noticed it.
House,
I never really noticed it though, because it was like not in my radar that I would think about it.
It looks like an ordinary residence.
Right,
too.
but once I got cancer, I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to do something about that. I went through the whole thing about losing my hair, even though it was a small breast cancer, it was also very invasive. So I took chemotherapy, radiation, and lost all my hair, talked about it, went public, took my wig off, and showed them, the services that are available and what happens when you go through all of that. I was very willing to talk about that. So then I decided I'm going to work for them because I like what they're doing and I'd like to do something to help them.
It's interesting. Some women, breast cancer is a special social phenomenon, I think, in our community and with women. Some women, they get breast cancer and it makes them want to help others.
Well, that was me.
Yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yes.
And I know some who, has transformed them into outgoing advocates for dealing with cancer?
Well, I'll have to tell you, Rel's son was alive when I got my breast cancer, and I was chair with her, a co-chair at an event, and then she died, you know, and but she was wonderful. She was wonderful in spreading the word out in the Waianae coast and to her surfer friends how important it was to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
So she was quite an advocate too.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
so all that experience, all that influence that you had from the legislature, you brought to the American Cancer Society. Pretty good.
Right. Because of course, you know, smoking was our big issue, you know, and we finally got that passed, you know. So, and then also the tobacco tax this year. Now they raised the age for smoking, you know, to purchase tobacco products to 21, and now California has followed suit with that. So that's going to really lower our incidence of cancer among youth.
I want to tell you, by the way, my law firm was instrumental in stopping smoking in the downtown office buildings. We represented a number of them, and we told them how they could do that. And, you know, one by one, they stopped smoking in their buildings.
Can you remember a time when you would get on a plane and there would be smoking and non-smoking,
sure.
and the smoke would just come over from the smoking side?
Oh, terrible.
I mean, gosh, you know, that wasn't too long ago. I think it was like 20 years ago. You know, it was something like that, you know, that it was like that. And now you just don't see smoking.
It's really gone from our lives.
It is.
You know?
And in restaurants, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, because I grew up with people smoking all over the place.
And considering this habituating kind of activity, it's interesting how people have, like, turned away from it. I mean, like 99.9% of the people you know have turned away actively. You know, for example, get in an elevator in any building, residential or office building, and light up a cigarette, and you will see what happens.
Oh, gosh.
They will not tolerate you for 1 second. And they're activists in that way, you know, they're not going to let it happen.
Well, what you see are people standing outside of buildings, and then they're putting their cigarettes behind them, like this, and smoking, and putting their hands behind them. And it's a dwindling number, and that's good. You know, that's good for our society that we have less, you know.
So you joined the American Cancer Society. And there's so much to learn about dealing with cancer in Hawaii and anywhere else, but you learn it real quick in the American Cancer Society.
Absolutely. And actually, I just was diagnosed with another cancer last year. I had kidney cancer. It was kind of found incidentally. They were looking, they had an MRI, they were looking for something else, and they saw this big mass on my kidney. And fortunately, even though it was large, it was the size of a lemon on my left kidney, they were able to scoop it out surgically and remove it, and I'm fine.
It was on the outside.
It was on the outside, but attached to the kidney. So I'm less one kidney, but I'm all righty now.
That's good.
You know, so
good for you.
I'm perfectly fine.
You think there was a connection between number 1 and number 2?
No, there was no connection. They said it was just one of those things. And this happens, you know, when you get older, there's a higher risk of getting cancer. When you reach 60, over that, you know, there's a higher risk.
Yeah, and P.S., you never get younger.
Yeah,
you know,
no, and it's good to get older, you know, it's good.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, so it is.
Well, good for you, good for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, okay, so American Cancer Society, here we are in a community where people don't talk about their ailments much, and all of a sudden there's an organization which does. So what did you find inside? What was happening there that was of interest to you, and how did you, you know, sort of integrate your life into that job?
Oh, the American Cancer Society, we have a wonderful series of events. It's called Relay for Life. And it goes out into the communities. And we have them on all the islands. And to me, that's really helped to bring the issue of cancer to the communities, because we have well-known people in that community come out and speak about it. And they will maybe be an honorary chair, or they're going to be honored. Then you see all these different tents dedicated to different people in the community who either had cancer or have cancer, and their support group is there. So it's an opportunity for people to come and sort of tailgate, you know, camp out, and talk about it in the open, and find the support system that they need in the community.
Yeah. How does that work then? I mean, is it from a psychological level or a health level when one person, you know, talks to others? What's the reinforcement implication on that?
Well, you know, we were talking about our old friend Joe Wyckoff. He had cancer years ago and never really talked about it. When he became chair of American Cancer Society, he went to his first Relay for Life. And I walked with him. I held his hand at Magic Island. We walked around. And for him to be that open about his cancer, it just brought tears to his eyes and to mine, because he passed his office. They had a tent up, and everybody was cheering for him. and to go by and have people clap for you, you know, when they're saying you did it, you know, you survived cancer, or you're surviving it, you know, it could be you're still in the process of it. It made him feel like, wow, you know, this is something, it's important to show people they have support.
Yeah.
I think the support is really important. So Joe's never forgotten that, you know.
Yeah. So what does that support do for you? It makes you want to fight the cancer.
Well,
it makes you want to live.
It shows you're not alone, and that's really important. And, you know, now we have so many people that have come out and talked about their cancer. Mark Takai, you know, our congressman, who's going through treatment right now.
Yes.
Breen Harimoto.
He was here last week.
Yeah, and Senator Breen Harimoto is going through cancer, his treatments too. That's really important. And so we have people in the community talking about it. It's important to know. Let me give you a statistic. There are about 7,000 residents a year in Hawaii who get cancer, who are diagnosed every year. 2,000 people die from it every year, Jay. That's every year. We have in Hawaii about 75,000 survivors now. That could fill Aloha Stadium plus standing room. So that many people have survived cancer. Unfortunately, a lot of people have died from it. Yeah. But what it shows to people is that there's technology out there that really can help you. I mean, like with mine, I never thought I would have kidney cancer. They would surgically remove it, and that would be it. I'm a kidney cancer survivor. Yeah. Whereas my first cancer took a lot of treatment, lost my hair, and all of that. But I think it gives people hope. I think hope is a really big word, and that's what I really want to talk about today is our Hope Lodge.
Hope Lodge, I've heard about that.
Because we on Oahu are so lucky to be living here. We don't think about it. We think about the traffic, we think about the congestion, we think about the people all over the place, but we're lucky to have the best cancer treatment in the islands, in the Pacific, in fact, right here on this island. And unfortunately, for a lot of people in the neighbor islands, they don't have that access. Yeah. So they can probably have ordinary chemotherapy, ordinary radiation on another island, but to have some special treatment, they'd have to come to Oahu. And about 10 years ago, we had Pastor Gene Redden from Kauai. He was a veteran, and his treatment was being done at Tripler Hospital. Now, people don't often think about this, but veterans come here to go to Tripler for their treatment. He had no insurance to pay for his housing or for his transportation. It was all out of pocket, and he was a pastor. So fortunately for him, he had a pastor network. But what Gene did was amazing. He wrote a letter to the editor. He wrote an editorial column that said, we need a Hope Lodge in Hawaii. He said, I had to stay at a friend's house. Somebody I didn't know was a friend of a friend, because to pay $50 a night at that time, $50 a night. More now. Yeah, not even at Pagoda, you know, $50 a night. He said, I couldn't afford it for 4 weeks. Yeah. You know, so for him, there was no room at Fisher House at Tripler, you know, because they're open to all different kinds of patients. So he said, there needs to be a place in Hawaii where neighbor island people can come and stay. And so with his editorial, we took it to the board, and Joe Wyckoff was there at the time. And
this
the
is
board,
a couple, 3 years ago, yeah?
This is 10 years ago.
10 years
and
ago.
The board said, yeah, let's work on this. And then we launched, 7 years ago, we launched the Hope Lodge campaign.
Okay, and right after this break, we're going to hear how you do that, how you launch a campaign like this, what resources you bring into play, and how you achieve success. With Jackie Young, former Chief of Staff of the American Cancer Society in Hawaii. We'll be right back.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I host a show called Healthcare in Hawaii here on Think Tech. We get together once a week or sometimes twice a month. Depends when we're busy. We get together less often, but we love to see you here to talk about the preeminent healthcare issues in our state. Our programs vary very widely. We talk about economics, we talk about healthcare, we talk about social issues on this program. Thanks for joining us.
Aloha, my name is Justine Espiritu, and I am the co-host of Hawaii Farmers Series. This is my co-host, Matthew Johnson, and we are live with you every Thursday at 4 p.m. at thinktechhawaii.com. And our show focuses on Hawaii's local food, community. We feature not only the farmers that are producing our food, but we also feature the supporters and other folks involved in the community that are trying to promote local agriculture.
Bingo, we're back with Jackie Young, the former Chief Staff Officer of the American Cancer Society in Hawaii. So you're talking about Hope Lodge. This is a big project. This is a house. I guess this is a house at least as big as the one in Nu'uanu there that you have.
Oh, it's actually larger because it's intended to house people who can't access housing on Oahu.
Yeah.
We are there. There's a chain. There's a network of Hope Lodges throughout the United States.
Yeah.
We're, I think, the 34th one, if I'm not mistaken. I may be off one or two there, but in almost every state they have one, and we're very fortunate to be able to have one. Thanks to the advocacy of Pastor Gene Redden, who brought that attention to us. Our board approved of it, and we decided to start the campaign. And,
it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
It's a big
well,
our
property,
goal
a lot
is
of money.
$13 million.
$13 million.
For the first 2 years, we went looking for property, and we had to look for something that was accessible to the hospitals in Hawaii. And fortunately, Queens Hospital gave us a charitable lease a block away from where Queens Hospital is, where Dog the Bounty Hunter's office is, on the little cul-de-sac there by Vineyard Street. And
great location, great location.
Great location.
Yeah.
But we have a shuttle bus that'll take them to Tripler, to Kaiser, to St. Francis, Kuakini, wherever their hospitals are, and to the UH Cancer Center. Because if they were coming here for a clinical trial, they would also qualify to stay at Hope Lodge without charge. Without charge. They and a caregiver can stay there. So to me, you know, when you think about how expensive lodging is, you know, affordable housing is, and you know, there's a myth out there that, oh, people in the neighbor islands have family on Oahu, they can stay with them. You're going through treatment. You don't want to stay in a crowded house with family. You really want to be by yourself.
And you don't want to have social obligations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you go for treatment, you can't eat. Like I remember when I was going through breast cancer, my taste buds changed. I couldn't eat all the different foods. And
sometimes you give up your food.
Yes,
too.
exactly. You know, so you can cook your own food at the Hope Lodge. You have your own kitchen. You have your own refrigerator, a place to put your food, and you can dine with other people going through the same treatment that you are.
And get that reinforcement experience that
exactly,
you talked about before.
Exactly. So there are 20 rooms, actually 19 dedicated to patients and one for the resident manager. And we started with this $13 million campaign, and we are at almost 12 million completed.
Are you in construction now?
We're in construction now.
Well, we have some photos.
Yes.
Let's see what it looks like. Is this it?
That's it. That's it. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Great looking building.
I mean, it's
great
going up.
looking
It's
location.
3 stories. We are limited by the capital zone, so we can't go higher than 60 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain other restrictions. We have to have a little garden area and whatnot. So, but we made it work. I mean, we had a great charitable lease from Queens Hospital again, $1 a year for 20 years, renewable for another 40 years.
That's very nice of them.
So we paid our first 20 years off. You know, it was good. But we also had a large donation initially, Clarence T.C. Ching. They gave us $3.5 million. So it is the Clarence T.C. Ching Hope Lodge.
Oh, that's very nice.
They got the naming opportunity for that.
And appropriate.
Yes, and other wonderful nonprofit organizations in Hawaii have come through. And we're at the point where we need...
Oh, here's a rendering of it as it will be finished, huh?
Yes.
There's
See
with
Clarence
Ching's
T.C.
name on it,
Yeah,
and
Hope
your
Lodge.
logo on it, and beautiful.
And you see the shuttle over there, because the shuttle will take them without charge to where they need to go for their appointments, so they don't even have to worry about the traffic, you know, or about transportation. So this is free for Neighbor Island people and for Oahu people who live over 40 miles away.
We have one more photo of the backyard. I mean, you have, yeah. Oh,
there's going to be a little
nice.
There's going to be a little barbecue area and a resting place, and you know, it's just a perfect location for something like this. It will really, it'll really make a difference.
It's clean and it's
I'll
expresses
tell you,
hope.
Jay, when I was on Molokai a few years ago to honor some of their nurses there, I told them about Hope Lodge. Tears came to the eyes of some of the nurses. They said many of their patients have had to forego treatment because they couldn't afford to stay on Oahu. As I said, they have this myth that people have friends and family on Oahu. Not everybody does.
No, it used to be.
Yeah,
you know?
it used
But it
to
isn't
be.
anymore.
Yeah, so many of them just say, I can't afford it. And so they turn down treatment and they have to stay on Molokai. So it shortens their lives, you know, as they don't have the chance to see whether they could extend their life a little longer and live with cancer a little more.
And have hope.
Yes.
And every day they're on the planet.
Yeah, and we're talking about all of the islands, you know, and so you know there's a shortage of doctors. You had Dr. Josh Green on your program
Sure, he's
before,
into that.
talking
He's
about
on your board.
Yes, talking about the shortage of doctors on neighbor islands, especially specialty doctors. So coming to Honolulu is very important. And for the UH Cancer Center, the clinical trials, the neighbor island people can participate. They can stay at the Hope Lodge and without charge. And I think that's so important.
It really is.
Know,
and it's good for research, too.
Yeah.
We want them to be here. We want to have the diversity. We want to see them visit the Cancer Research
And it occurred
Center.
to me today, our goal is 13.5 million. We have 1.3 million to go to finish our goal. We have about 1.3 residents in this state, don't we? If they all gave $1, we would make our goal, you know. I know that's not possible, but maybe if they could give 10, you know, $10 or so.
Is there an event or is there a website? What do we need to know about?
Yes, there's a website, and I think you have the information, hopelodgehawaii.org. Yes, you can go on that website and donate $10, you know, donate $20, and, you know, just donate what you can. We're in that last 1.3 million. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about cancer. I mean, we're all candidates somehow. And it touches so many people, and there's nothing you can do really about that.
7,000 a year in Hawaii. That's a lot of people. That means that you will. Jimmy Borges, you know, he's talked about it.
He's been on the show a number of times.
Yes, and he's been wonderful in talking about his cancer and living with cancer, you know, and you know, he's been really wonderful.
Part of dealing with cancer is to talk about cancer.
We think so. I think so. Some people they can't do it, and you don't fault them for it. You know, some people are very private, and they need to have their privacy and their way of, you know. But I think for people who need the support, know that it's out there, that's really important. That's really important. So.
Well, okay. I think the public should be aware of this. I think it's a great project. I think it will extend, you know, the benefits of the American Cancer Society here. But I would like also to talk about what you do in the house on Nu'uanu that I visited. And we created that movie a couple of years ago about your activities there. Because you know, that's the core operation.
Yes, yeah.
What happens in that house?
Well, we have our resource people there, and they actually go out now more than stay in. In the old days, before the internet and all that, they stayed in there and people came. Now they go out. But it is a center of activities because our Road to Recovery program, you know, the one that you featured on your program, where we had people drive patients to different treatments.
Yes, I remember that. I met the drivers, and they were so cool.
And there's a lot of planning because the community comes together to plan all these Relay for Life events. They come to that headquarters there, and they can all meet together, and they see then all the displays that we have up there, you know, with our cancer patients, and they have access to all the resources. We also have a wig salon there.
I'm going to ask you about the wig salon. That's an incredible thing. A lady comes, she's a wig person, and she comes and she fits women for wigs. And it's very important to them. You know?
It is. And now many of the hospitals are picking that up, and now they're beginning to do it, but then we still have our, you know, wigs that are available. So, yeah, it's changed. It has to change with the time. You know, so it's a resource center, you know, and a volunteer center for a lot
everything
of people.
changes. But, you know, you had a wonderful staff there. They're all so kind and caring. Some of them had personal experiences themselves or in their families, and they were completely invested in the American Cancer Society.
It's hard to find somebody in Hawaii who doesn't know somebody who's had cancer. You know, because we're such a small island, and it affects so many of us. You know, and so many people are going public now, which is really wonderful that you have like, you know, Breen Harimoto and Mark Takai going public about it. So, you know, that really makes a difference.
Well, you know, years back it was a death sentence to find the diagnosis, not too much you could do. Now there's so much you can do, and we want to educate people. It's about educating them first.
And I'll tell you, the Cancer Center, the UH Cancer Center is I can only wish that it becomes a great institution, because it's going to save lives of people in Hawaii. There's no other place that looks at the diversity that Hawaii has but the UH Cancer Center. You know.
I want to talk about that. I want to talk about research right after this break. That's Jackie Young, Chief Staff Officer, retired of the American Cancer Society in Hawaii, here on Community Matters. We're calling the show Dealing with Cancer in Hawaii. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Stephen Katz, and I'm the host of Shrink Wrap, which comes to you live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on thinktechhawaii.com, and then it's repeated again whenever you want if you go to the website. On our show, we will be talking to all different kinds of therapists, psychologists, psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, people who talk about the mind, the brain, and about different ways to find happiness. I myself am a marriage and family therapist in practice here in Hawaii, and I hope you will join us, because I've got a lot to learn, you've got a lot to learn, and it's a great ride. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
You know, once upon a time, I was named by Linda Lingle, as it was, to the High Tech Development Corporation. I spent a few years doing that. And, you know, at the beginning of my term, so to speak, at the time of my appointment, upon confirmation by the Senate, there was a speech at Washington Place by Steve Levinson, then Justice of the Supreme Court. And he said, and I will never, ever forget, he said, once you are bit by the bug of public service, you know, it lasts for the rest of your life. Now you understand the relationship of government and the community, and you can never forget that.
Well, my first job here was taking kids out of Waimanu Home in 1977 and bringing them into the public school system. We had to shut down Waimanu Home, and you remember Waimanu
I do
Home.
Indeed.
You know, so I mean, that was the old days, you know, and it's just really changed.
Well, it's a matter of the relationship of the individual to the community, not just the government. You know, like in the old days, we had the draft, we had the Peace Corps still exists at a sort of a modified level, but the idea was that every man and woman would give public service, you know. And I think there's a duty for that, even in the absence of the draft. Even if you don't want to go into the Peace Corps, you should still sign up to do some kind of public service.
I think so. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Yeah. My son was in the Peace Corps in Africa, you know, and learned. He's now an international aquaculture expert.
Yeah.
He's a professor, but his base was Africa.
Yeah,
know,
right. That's where he formed up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah.
And you gave him that, I think. Yeah. Because you have been public service all your life, really.
Yeah. Well, the second half of my life, you
okay.
know, that's part of my story here.
So, and part of my point about this is that, you know, you could run for office again, and you could go back into the ledge, and I'll vote for you. In fact, I told you I'd move into your neighborhood so I could vote for you, whatever neighborhood that might be. How many years were you in office?
Oh, not many. 4 years, because I ran for lieutenant governor against Basie Hirono.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, yeah, and then it was good because I ended up, I mean, I have no regrets about my path in life. You know, I've enjoyed it, and I still contribute, you know, even though I'm in my 80s, you know, so I still
I don't believe that for a minute.
I'm going to be 82.
I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Yeah. I was telling Nick I know his father, which means I'm old enough to be his grandmother.
Oh, God.
So,
you admit that, Nick?
Yeah.
Nick's our floor manager, Nick Sexton.
So
So let's go back to research, okay?
Okay.
Research at UH Cancer Center is a big deal. I mean, Lord knows it took a while to get that building off the ground. There were various plans, competing officials who had different ideas about how to do it. And of course, all that in the context of a legislature that changes while you watch. Well, finally they did it, and now they have some really good researchers. And it's connected with the HIV/AIDS program too. And I went to a program, a presentation. In fact, we've had some shows about the HIV/AIDS research effort at the Cancer Center. It's phenomenal. There's a woman named Cecilia Shakuma there, a doctor, who runs the HIV/AIDS program, and her view of it is, we're not going to fix this on a symptomatic level. We're going to stamp out the virus. And that's very aggressive, very aspirational.
Yeah.
But I think there's a possibility that remarkable things could happen here in Hawaii. And every time you look, even a few days ago, there was some kind of major, contribution in research that came out of the Cancer Center here in Hawaii.
It's exciting.
It is very exciting.
Yeah. I think the big difference is that in the old days, you thought of research as somebody stuck away in a lab and only doing something that you never saw the results of. But now the emphasis applied research is how are you going to use this research and what is the action that follows the use of this research. So it's all connected. And the internet has allowed us to do that, is to collaborate with other people around the world to see what else they're doing and move faster, to finding some cures. There are over 100 different kinds of cancers. So when we say cure cancer, it's a very general term, but there are a lot of cancers. And in Hawaii, we have to worry about melanoma because of the sun.
Sure.
So even though you're dark-skinned, you still have to worry about, protecting yourself. So there's a lot of good research going on.
Yeah. Very promising in various places.
Yes.
But one thing I would like to offer, you talk about collaboration, I think
Yes.
a big part of it, is that Hawaii culture is high on collaboration.
Yes.
If you want to say one thing about us, we are good at collaboration, at sharing.
Yes.
At opening ourselves up and then having relationships with people we never met, to share this kind of research information. We're into data and we're into collaboration, and that gives us an advantage. So you think it's just a building in Kaka'ako, it's not. It's connected to everything else.
Oh yeah, and when Dr. Carboni was there, he was internationally known, and so he brought some of his connections with him, and that really made a big difference. It made us, and he's fond of saying we're either the center of nowhere or the middle or the center of the universe. Is that what he says? We're in the middle of nowhere or the center of the universe. And I think we could make ourselves the center of the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, people want to come here now and do research, and the building is part of it. It has up-to-date, equipment, and that's really important. You can't have them stuck away in a moldy building, which is the way it was before.
Yeah.
They were in old facilities, so
Up
they needed
near the water supply.
They needed that new building. They needed that new building to make things go.
Yeah.
And we've got wonderful champions. The dean of the school, Jairus Hedges, has been just wonderful. And in the legislature, Senator Roz Baker, was chair of our board, but she's a cancer survivor and she's a cancer champion.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Great to have that. Great to have
Yes.
champions like that. But the Cancer Center, as John A. Burns School of Medicine itself, have had funding issues, and they have had issues with the legislature about research money, and they're having one right now, as a matter of fact, where the legislature wants to pull some of the some of their customary funding, which could be higher. Pull it away from the campus, including the medical school, and put that into maintenance instead of adding new money for maintenance. And we've had a couple of shows about this by some of the researchers in Manoa, and they're very concerned about that because that has the effect of losing researchers, losing the administration of researchers, and as a result, the grants, which are dependent on having those people, the grants can't pay for that directly. But if you lose that functionality, administration and research assistance, then the federal money goes away, and then you don't have research.
Yeah, and let me repeat that statistic. 7,000 people a year. I mean, and that's a growing number. It used to be 6,000 10 years ago, is now 7. When I went to the Cancer Society in 1998, it was like 3,500 people a year were diagnosed with cancer. Now it's doubled. It's 7,000. It's only going to increase. We are talking about a small island in which we know people, and it's becoming more prominent. Our cancer data is better, but to think that many people a year in Hawaii that are diagnosed with cancer, we have to do something about it. And we can turn it from a deadly disease to a chronic disease. We're like me. I've lived with my breast cancer since 1998, and I had kidney cancer in October, and I'm back to normal. People call me up all the time and say, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I just had my kidney removed, that's all."
No big thing.
And the cancer along with it. But the surgeon, Dr. Auberg, was fantastic, and it was just great. The medical people were wonderful. But we have access to it. Back again to the fact that this island is the center of a lot of specialties, and the Hope Lodge will be bringing them from the neighbor islands and from Guam and the other Pacific islands to Oahu to be able to stay there and to access. It's access to cancer care.
Yes, and it's accessing diversity.
Yes.
So that we have all this data
Exactly.
we can use to do that research.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
there's the legislature over there, the picture.
Yeah.
You see the picture? It's right
Well,
over
there's-
there.
And there's, yeah.
So why don't you talk to them and tell them what they should do?
Well, support the Cancer Center because we do need the research that they come out with. I think what they're doing is fabulous. I think they have potential for greatness. And I hope they can see that. I hope the people at the legislature can see that.
Yeah, it's important. Wish you were back there.
Yeah, because our statistics are really daunting.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, on the statistics point, you know, you
Yeah.
mentioned we've had this increase, and my own view of it, and I wonder about yours, and the American Cancer Society must have stats on this, is that we live in a complicated world. We live in a world of chemicals. Some of them are, carcinogenic. We may not know all the carcinogenic chemicals that surround us.
Yes.
And so as we go forward in a more complex world with all those chemicals and things that are carcinogenic, we're going to have more cases. Am I right?
Yes, yeah, oh yeah, and we're an aging population, and we're living longer, so therefore you will have older people with cancer. So it is a much more, it is going to increase. As we live longer, we'll have higher risk for cancer, so.
So
yeah.
what's after the Hope Lodge? What does American Cancer Society, plan for Hawaii? What do you see the future as? Somebody who's been with them a long time now. Where's it going to go?
Well, I'd like to see our clinical trials at the university. I'd like to see more collaboration with the University Cancer Center. We have a consortium now of the hospitals and the Cancer Center. I think that needs to grow, and everybody needs to work together because it's not many problems. It's one problem that affects us all, and we're small enough to be a role model for many places that we can work together like this. I think the Hope Lodge will bring people together too. The Hope Lodge is it's a way of bringing people from different islands who have to go to different hospitals, and I think people will see it more when the stories about those who come to Hope Lodge come out, and we will do that.
Yes, let's do that.
We'll be bringing their stories.
Will you come back and talk to me again?
Yeah, and let me tell you, one of the newsletters we had, Yisadar, who lived on the Big Island, when the first time she had cancer, breast cancer, and she was 35 years old, she went into her savings, used up all her savings. She got it again. Her doctor was Dr. Palalai. She got it a second time. Second time she got it, she went into debt. The third time she got it, she lost her house. Now this is somebody in their 30s and 40s who had breast cancer, lived in Hilo, came to our Relay for Life, understood what it was all about, so was able to access resources right away, but didn't have the insurance coverage to pay for all her trips to Honolulu to get the special treatment that she needed. So she's been one of our spokespeople, for this, and it's so important that they have access to care like we do. We get in our car and we drive to Queens, we drive to Kaiser, we get our treatment, but people from the neighbor island, though they love living on the neighbor island, the access to care is really different.
We have to help them.
So to me, to strengthen that access to care, that's in the future of the American Cancer Society, to make it really equitable for everybody to have access.
And how about you, Jackie Young?
Yeah.
You're 32 years old now. You're going to continue.
50 years ago.
You're going to continue to, do work with the American Cancer Society?
Yeah, no, I'm proud to say I'm in my 80s. I am, because I've lived a long life, and I'm really grateful, for all that's happened in my life to help me to be where I am now. Yes, I will continue to help Hope Lodge because I really believe it's going to make a huge difference for everybody in the state, not just for the American Cancer Society in Oahu, but for everybody. I've always believed in equal treatment and equal access, and this is one big way to do it. So yes, yeah.
Okay, that's Jackie Young. I think I love her, and I think we all love her, as a matter of fact. She's the former chief staff officer at the American Cancer Society, but still active with them. We've been talking about dealing with cancer in Hawaii. We ought to have a further discussion about this here on Community Matters. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Aloha.